I saw you.
Hello, everyone. Would you stand for the pledge, please? And then we're going to continue standing and do a moment of silence for Mr. Gambino. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to open the public hearing for local law, which probably will be local law number 1 of 2019. The ad is up there, if anybody would like to see it. And this is repealing the zoning and replacing the zoning as to be doing our master plan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Bob Murphy with Barton & Judas. We were involved with the town here in the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee in not only updating the comprehensive plan, which was formally adopted last March, but then continuing that effort into the zoning code to make changes that comply with the newly adopted comprehensive plan. And so tonight, as the supervisor mentioned, it's the public hearing where we invite any comments that you guys may have come across as you look through the document, so that we can then move to finalization if there aren't any outstanding issues to be addressed. So
Sure.
I'll be here the rest of
I'll start with the board. Matt, you guys were on this committee. Brian, Jim, and myself obviously were not. I know you guys kept us up to speed, but do either of you want to mention anything like maybe the biggest changes or the biggest impacts from this?
Probably in terms of the zoning itself, we looked at some items, we had some additions, very detailed with the solar, the commercial solar to be specific. This way, pretty much the zoning now will follow the NYSERDA, which comes from the state level, kind of almost mirror those regulations and mandates. So this way we have something that's concrete, something that's, we did have something before, but this is a little more meat to it. We did, with the map Robert has there, made some changes with the districts themselves, a little bit of reclassification. Now there's an exclusive business-only district, which we didn't have before. This way it kind of rules out any residential, new residential construction in that area to hopefully keep both businesses together.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add, Dom?
The biggest part of the problem we had with our own zoning codes was there was a lot of definitions on all the tables, but there was no area of the document that defined what they mean. So it was very vague with all of the terminology that they use with no definition. So there's a very big part of the document now that defines all the terms, so that there's something for a basis for the planning board to work off of and for the building department to work off of. Obviously, it was a pretty long process. It had been many, many years since the zoning or the master plan had been looked at. A lot of hours went into this process. This gentleman was a huge help of walking us through the process, along with Mike when he first started. Without their help, you'd be at a loss because it's so complicated, and not having done it before, there's so much to learn. And they made it very easy for our process to explain us to things in layman's terms so that we can understand what we were actually talking about. Obviously, in 5 years from now, I would recommend that the zoning board, a couple members from the zoning board, a couple members from the building department, and a couple members from the town board review it and see what changes, because we've made so many changes, how it should be tweaked again in order to make it run more smoothly. There's going to be a lot of changes involved in what the building department is going to be responsible for, and a lot of changes in what the planning board is going to be responsible for. So it should be looked at again in a few years, just to make sure that everything we've done runs smooth and what needs to be tweaked to make it even better.
No, I would totally agree, and just to kind of sum up the changes that have occurred here to the zoning code, one of the big takeaways from the comprehensive planning process was a desire from the town, members of the public, as well as the committee, to maintain the town's rural character. So the changes that we made to the zoning code were reflective of that. And as Matt mentioned, we made some tweaks to the business areas that you see on the map up here. In particular, what formerly was known as the Office Research Industrial Park Zone, up here and down in here, those are now Business 1 districts. So it kind of allows for more neighborhood style commercial uses than the previous use was, and as we mentioned, is business only. The other change is adding in the local business 2 district, which really only affects 2 parcels, which were previously zoned for median density residential, known as the suburban residential district 2. Those are these 2 parcels here, just north of the tracks, but south of 211. So those were the 2 kind of area changes that we made.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions for the board, for Bob?
I have 2, just curiosity. Matt mentioned solar. Will commercial solar development be allowed in only particular zones?
Yes.
And what zones are they?
And which one, I don't remember offhand. I don't remember offhand, but it wasn't for the whole town, I don't believe.
Okay.
I believe it was certain districts.
Yeah, it's
You remember?
mostly the residential districts, only because they would be the only ones that have the space to actually do it.
Right.
So the business ones obviously are a little bit more dense, so it wasn't gonna work that way. Also, as they pertain to the solar regulations, an important component is that we're actually repealing the solar ordinance as it stands, replacing it with this, but also relocating it into the zoning law, because no solar project could apply for a variance, even if they did have a legitimate hardship, if it's not in the zoning law itself, because that's the only way you can. So that is one of the changes. And then I think one of the big ones also that we had done at the very beginning, which is very popular in this area, are cluster subdivisions, which the town did not have a provision for. And for those that aren't familiar with them, what it is basically you are allowing a greater density, or basically a smaller lot size in a subdivision, and the trade-off is open space. So let's say you have 2-acre zoning, you could allow those houses then to stand on 1 acre of property, but that other acre is dedicated to open space and green space protection. So
It's called a conservation subdivision, and it falls under strict guidelines, and the planning board has a lot of authority to decide how it goes. The properties will never be deeded to the town, they'll be turned open space, but they'll remain in the property of the individual owners.
Right.
So that never becomes a responsibility of the town, but there are guidelines in which they have to follow what they can and cannot do on that piece of property.
And that also goes hand in hand with that desire to maintain the rural character of the community. While still allowing for
Absolutely.
development, it
Yeah.
maintains that, the open spaces that make it.
Yep.
Conservation subdivisions have become more popular around the
Oh,
state.
absolutely.
Because it allows for more green area, but still allows you to build a few houses.
Right. And the other question I had, you mentioned the change in the business, to make it more of a commercial type of businesses would be allowed.
Mhm.
And you said business only. Will there be any residences allowed? Can there be residences above the, commercial use of the building?
I believe that was listed as a conditional use in that
Yeah,
area.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
accessory apartments and mixed
Okay.
uses are incorporated into it.
Excellent. No more questions? Can we get a copy of the map?
Like a printed copy?
Okay,
We can get one to you.
awesome. Will it be
It's gonna
online?
be small, it won't be that big. The maps are online.
Yes.
Yeah, the maps are online.
Or the Zoom function on
We can
Another
print it
thing,
off
just
in
to
like
touch
4
on a little
pages.
bit of the zoning changes that were made with the with the solar. We followed NYSERDA's guidelines, but when it came to setbacks and areas like that, we defined it a little more deeply to make the rules, to give you a little more setbacks than what NYSERDA would allow off of roadways, off of property lines, so that we didn't end up with these panels right alongside the road.
Like they have
So
way out.
it is more defined than what NYSERDA allowed, so that we did make changes that way.
Good. Nicely done.
And as Dominic mentioned, the town should, again, revisit these every 5 years, because, I mean, not only do circumstances change within the town, but also new technologies come about. One of the other things that we incorporated into the code this time was provisions to deal with Airbnbs, temporary rental housing. So that's now part of the code, whereas before it was foreign to the code, basically, so now it's in there.
I mean, it's an 80-some page document, and I'm sure that they will find in the future that there are some things that we should have done differently.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why every 5 years or so, it should be looked at so that you can even find some things.
Yeah.
And there were representatives from the village also involved, so that in the spirit of cooperation to make sure we weren't putting a particular zone that completely contrasts with the one in the village right next to it, so.
I mean, the committee put a lot of hours into this. It was a very diverse group, and some of them were older like me and Lee, and some of them were younger like Ike, I would say, but
You're the youngster in the crowd.
well, Matt was the younger guy.
Yeah.
But we did have a pretty wide, varied group, people that have been here a long time, people that haven't been here a long time, so you had different perspectives. So it was an interesting undertaking.
Yes, Ike's been here 30 years, but he's still a newcomer.
But a young guy, I heard it.
Any more questions for
It's on
Bob?
record now, too. Right, Kathy?
Does anybody have any questions for Bob? Does anyone from the board have any questions for Bob?
No. Thank you.
No?
No, I have no questions.
Okay, so we're actually going to leave this public hearing open. We'll accept any kind of written comments. Feel free to come back at our next meeting and talk again. Bob will not be here, but unless Bob really wants to be here. But if anyone has any questions, concerns, that way if people get a chance to get here, my goal would be to just leave it open. We're still awaiting comments from Orange County.
And just as a procedural note, we did provide the copy to Orange County the week of Thanksgiving. And then last week they asked for a marked up copy, like a red line copy, so we provided that last week as well. So I would expect them hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Any comments?
So we'll get their comments back, we'll leave the public hearing open, and rather than rush to do the local law, perhaps we'll just do it the first meeting of 19.
And if you're ever early for a meeting, like you said before, we have 2 great pizza places, a Chinese restaurant,
Pizza
great
Mania.
coffee.
Is that Pizza Mania? Very good. Pepperoni.
So I'd like a motion to close,
No,
I'm
to
sorry.
adjourn the
To
public hearing.
adjourn the public hearing and move on.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the public meeting and carry on with our regular scheduled meeting. Thank you.
No problem. I'll leave this here.
That would be
We
great.
need a
I'm
second
gonna
and a
grab
vote
the
on
easel.
I'll second that.
But I'll leave this here for
Great,
us to.
thank you.
All in favor?
Thanks so much for coming.
No problem.
Thanks.
If any
Explain
questions
things
come up,
tonight.
feel that I can help, feel free to let me know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I didn't announce it, but please silence your cell phone. I would like a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th.
I'll make the motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second?
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence, Kathleen?
We have the tax collector fidelity bond that needs to be approved and signed off by the board members, so she can collect taxes. We have 5 budget modifications from the supervisor's office. The 2019 Humane Society contract. The 2019 library service contract with Port Jervis. Budget modification from the police department. The fuel agreement with Cornell and fuel agreement with the Village of Otisville, both for 2019. Copy of a letter from Engineered Solutions Corps regarding the annual service agreement from December 18 through November 2019 for the sewer department. Letter from the Department of Public Service regarding a filed joint proposal regarding 3-year electric and gas rate plans for O&R. Copy of a letter to the dam owners about Guymar Lake Dam, from the Lake Guymar Holding Corporation, sorry. A copy of a letter about the Old School Community Center regarding a $50,000 grant they were awarded. The building department report for November of 18, and the impound report from Palmer's Arc for November 18. That's all that I have.
Thanks, Kathleen. Board member reports. What do you got, Jim?
I have just a couple things. ZBA meeting is scheduled for December 5th at 7 p.m. Planning board will be held on the 19th at 7 p.m. and the village meeting will be on the 6th at 7 p.m. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jim. Don?
I have nothing to report.
Brian?
Ooh, my turn. The village had their Christmas tree lighting the other night. I thought it was a lot of people, and I'm sure you'll talk about it, but it was good. I'll bounce around here a little bit because I got a couple things. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did want to talk about Seven Peaks because the meeting before that, we talked about I was going to go to it, and a couple of people, obviously, well, a lot of people from Mount Hope and Otisville were there. In a nutshell, it got reduced in size down to 3 houses. They are in the beginning process of coming up with a plan and have to go, basically they're starting from scratch. So there's not really, and if someone from the audience wants to jump in and add to that, feel free, that was there, but there's not really much to it. I think, I know me personally, when I sat there and heard what I heard, I was like, wow, it got reduced tremendously, and I believe it's down to 3, and I'll keep on top of it and update it as needed, I guess. Minnesota Youth Football. They were Division II undefeated Super Bowl champions. I just wanted to congratulate them. I want to congratulate their coaches, their players, and their cheerleaders. I guess they were undefeated. What more could you say? And for our Christmas tree lighting coming up this Saturday, Santa's all set. I did speak to Otisville Fire Department about bringing them down. I kind of asked what he wanted to do, but I'll let someone else add about that. That's all I got.
You know where you're going, right?
Yep,
Right here.
right here.
Matt?
Hope to see everyone there, by the way.
The only thing this evening is just a reminder, the Patriot Tree will be lit in the village Friday, December 7th, 5:30, at the corner of Main Street and Highland Avenue. And that's all this evening.
Thanks, Matt. I have a few things, but I'll just cover it as we get to the agenda. Most of it. Highway, Dean,
I really don't have anything there to report.
how's the new community center coming?
It's coming.
It's coming. All right.
The gas pipe on the outside of the building that goes to a tank. You know what I'm talking about? To the left side of that building, there was a line that comes out.
Oh,
It used to go into that center.
Yeah, when I was up there Sunday, I heard scratching going on, and there was this godforsaken sound. So it looks like a woodpecker hole around that, so I wound up pulling the pipe out and laying it down, so I'm the one that did it. There was birds in there, and there was no way for them to get out, I guess. I don't know how they got in there, but that's, no comment.
Police, Paul,
I have nothing.
Village of Otisville, Diane.
Everything I had to report, one of your councilmen already did. We did have a very successful tree lighting, thank you for mentioning it. We have our meeting coming up on Thursday and the Patriot Tree on Friday. After the Patriot Tree lighting, everyone's invited back to the Village Hall for refreshments. That's it.
Thank you, Diane. Old business, we're not adopting the local law. So, David, can you explain a little bit about the email I sent you today for
Yeah, and forgive me, I only found out about it today, but apparently there is a, I believe a 24 lot subdivision in front of the planning board. They are looking, I would assume, for a letter of intent from the town board, because the property as one property actually is in two zoning districts. So the division line runs right through the property. So normally if you're doing one use for a property that's in two zoning districts, the applicant would elect a particular zoning district and the planning board would agree to that. Apparently after the subdivision, there's a good chunk of the lots that'll then be in one zoning district and the rest will be in the others. It's my understanding that the engineer and the project's applicant will be looking to move those, have those lots in one of the zoning districts be rezoned, so they're technically in the other zoning district. Which I don't necessarily have a problem with, it happens all the time. It really would just have to be done by local law as soon as we have section block and lot numbers for those particular lots. But I would suggest, I have to take a look at the map, I didn't get a chance to do it today, but we can sit down with our engineers and the applicants if we need, just so we see which lots in particular they are. But I would wait to get done what we're working on here as far as the map goes and then do the local law after that. Because they are contiguous with that zoning district they want to be in, I don't have a problem with that type of local law. So ultimately, that's where we are.
Yes, and because it's unique, the whole time that I've been here, when I was contacted from the engineer, I said, I don't think it's the town board, and in fact, it is the town
Yeah.
board, but long and short of it, I just got the information today, around 2, and immediately forwarded it to David. I just wanted to touch on it so nobody was taken by surprise, but as soon as we know more, obviously, it'll be a public hearing and
I
everything
mean,
else. So.
ultimately is our decision, but shouldn't we go off of a recommendation of the planning board?
Yeah, and that's why I want a chance to look at the map and to talk to Glenn and our engineers a little bit more about it. But I don't expect there to be an issue.
No, it's always been 20.
Okay.
He actually at one time wanted 30, but there were too many, and that's gonna be a process. We can obviously allow for it to be added to the sewer district, but they're gonna have to make their own application to be added to the water district that's there, that's privately owned. So I did kind of go over some of that with them.
And that's gonna be a whole separate process, which
Right.
we did a few years ago with another subdivision, so. And that's mostly driven by the engineers, so.
So if you add houses to the sewer district, doesn't that reduce the amount of people who are currently paying in there by adding more people to
Correct.
it?
So Ryan, that was our engineer before he got the job with the county. I want to say it was 46 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses that could be added to the existing sewer district without DEC approval because of it goes by the flow rate. So it has capacity to add 100 more houses, but after the 46, you would need new screens and other things to get the additional flow. But he had done an analysis for us because there were quite a few different developers that were interested in adding to it, but we didn't have the data. So for Leisure's project, which has passed already in the planning board, and hopefully this upcoming one, we're going to be good for those two particular ones. So at least David explained it a little, so look for anything in your email with that. As soon as I have more data, I'll send it out to everyone. One question that I have for you, David, which I did not ask you ahead of time. In our personal handbook for the town, union contracts aside, I was looking, like we have election day off, and I want to add election day back in and give everybody the day after Thanksgiving. What process is that? Because it's
In
not
the handbook, that would be, I believe that would just be a resolution of the town board to amend the handbook that way. I don't think you need a local one for that.
Yeah, I'm positive that I just didn't know what.
It'd just be a resolution, we could write up the new page and then just resolve to have it added in place of the existing page.
So can I just amend that now and go for a vote on it?
Yeah, I would do any
Well,
vote.
this will be for 2019.
Subject to my review and.
So I would like a motion starting in 2019 to add the election day back into the handbook as a regular workday and to give the employees the same amount of days. We'll give them the Friday after Thanksgiving as a holiday pending any additional motions or research that needs to be done by David. I'd like a motion to approve.
I have a question before. How is it gonna work for people that are running for office?
If you're running for office, if you're actually on the ballot, you will not work that day.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve what you just said.
Yes, so obviously, if I'm running for election, I wouldn't be here. Catherine has a deputy. Dean has a deputy.
But the building
Which
itself. will be
Dean,
open.
the highway guys are off that day.
Got it.
Thank you for your motion. Second,
Second motion?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would like a motion to approve fidelity bond for the tax collector.
I'll make the motion to approve the fidelity bond for the tax collector.
Second,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Supervisor's budget modifications. You'll see there's quite a few of them.
That's fine.
You'll see even more next meeting. I'm trying to clean up some of the accounts that have went over throughout the year, and we're pretty much closed with that account, so that's why you'll see so many. If nobody has any questions, I'll do them as a group. Do you want to just read them, Catherine?
Sure. You're gonna do them all in one motion?
Sure,
Okay, but I'll still label them as 1 through 5.
sure.
So decrease B 1990.4 contingency in the amount of $886, and increase B 3620.2 building department equipment in the amount of $886. Decrease A 1990.4 contingency in the amount of $6792, and increase A 1330.4 tax collector contractual in the amount of $6792. Decrease A 1990.4 contingency in the amount of $1,044.03, and increase A 1410.4 town clerk contractual in the amount of $1,044.03. Decrease expense line SS 1990.4 contingency, $120.32, and increase expense line SS 1910.4 unallocated insurance, $120.32. Decrease revenue line DB 1120, sales tax revenue by $26,642.58, and increase DB 5142, snow removal contractual by $26,642.58.
I would like a motion to approve, and you can make the adjustment on your thing. It's a typo, it says DV on the last one. A motion to approve all the budget modifications.
I'll make,
Go ahead.
make the motion to approve the budget modifications as read.
Second,
I'll second the approval.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the Humane Society agreement, we've had this for, I think, 3 years now. It's a backup for Dr. Roeder, which is our primary. We only pay Middletown Humane Society, there's no changes unless if we actually drop a dog off there. So there's no cost to the town to have this as a backup, but it's important to have it in the event that we need it. So I would like a motion to approve myself to sign the agreement with Middletown Humane Society for 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second motion?
all in favor?
Aye.
Port Jervis library contract. There is a change, so I would like to go over it, and I think it's a great change. So up to now, so you come in today for a library card, it expires December 31st. And we kind of pay for that person, and it's only for 30 days, the same that we pay for a whole year. So in the new contract, it clearly states that it's for 1 year of the date issued. So that is a really good thing for us, because somebody could come in December and it'll be good till December. So we'll actually get the whole year out of it. So all of the pricing and everything else stayed the same. So rather than read the whole thing, that's the only change in there. So I would like a motion to approve the Port Jervis Library contract renewal for 2019.
Make that motion.
Thanks, Jim. Second?
Second motion?
All in favor?
I just want to disclose for the record that I do represent the Port Jervis Library. I do not take any fees from them. I do it all pro bono. And frankly, I haven't even seen this contract and the change that they made, but I did want to put it on the record just in case it becomes an issue. So.
It's a change that somebody requested. Some nice guy.
Do we buy a certain amount of cards still?
We do. We initially buy 100, which is no big deal, because we're gonna go through that 100.
Right.
And then it's lots of
25.
25.
We got 150 right now this year.
Correct. But literally, when we go to 151, we're buying 25 more.
25 more.
And it's good for 30 days. So this is a good change.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Police budget modification. Would you read that?
Sure. Please increase the revenue line in account A 1520 in the amount of $11,760 for reimbursement costs associated with the school resource officer program. Then increase the revenue line in the police equipment account A 3120.2 by $11,760 to represent this reimbursement.
I would like a motion to approve the police budget modification as read.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, sure.
So, I'll ask Paul, because I know you know, but I'll ask Paul. So do they reimburse us like a certain amount of times a year? Is that, I'm just curious how they
Correct.
reimburse.
So what
Okay.
we're gonna do is, well, for this year, because it wasn't in the budget, because it was a set, we're doing in 2-month increments.
Okay.
So there'll be another one you'll get in January.
Got it.
Once January comes, you're gonna get it, we'll bill them in June for the 6 months.
So also, okay.
And then you'll get one check, but there will be no more budget modifications, because it's just a revenue line. It just directly goes to the
No,
revenue.
okay. I
So
was
that's,
just curious.
yeah, no,
No, we
that's,
never, okay.
yeah.
Did anyone make that motion?
Sounds like you're gonna.
Do you want to make the motion? I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So basically, this budget modification is going to go for our 2019 car to buy all of the equipment, 2018 money. Because it's coming out of .1 as we pay the payroll. But the revenue part coming in wasn't anticipated to hit, so
I got it.
we'll be able to buy stuff and then we'll buy the car next year. Fuel agreements, we have one with the Village of Otisville and we have one with Cornell Cooperative. I spoke with Dean was okay, making no changes. And I'm trying to be a little proactive and get the agreements done early, so I would like a motion to approve the 2019 fuel agreements. 0 changes.
I'll make the motion to approve the 2019 fuel agreements.
Second,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Matt and Brian, you guys did the audits, right, the last couple of years? Would you mind setting up something and then let Kathleen know when you want to do it? And
So you get one up there?
No, here, I didn't get one. I thought it was
No,
gonna
he's
get
a
stronger
he's-
about this year.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure, we're gonna get another bill before the end of the year.
Makes sense and also good. Did I skip one?
Skip the highway budget
Ah,
modification.
well, that's because I wrote it.
Oh,
So, yep,
Oh, so that was part of one of your 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
That's why I don't have it.
yep.
I'm just questioning.
That's the one I just handed out when I
No,
wrote it.
yeah, I know, but I was looking for one with his
Gotcha.
letterhead.
That was one for the sales tax.
Oh, there's no removal.
Yes, snow removal. 2018. Okay, so I would also like to approve the, it says 2019 Hidden Valley, but it's actually December to December, so it would be 2018 through 2019 Hidden Valley sewer contract. The cost of the contract is $6,000. We ran into an issue with 2 bulbs. The DEC required us to put in ultraviolet bulbs, and one of the bulbs went, and the second bulb went, and we called the company that put it in, and they wanted $10,000 to come and put 2 bulbs in. Actually, I believe Kathleen and I were laughing about it because it showed them what their lodging was, and that was the one that showed like what they were gonna get for meals. Long and short of it, we found another company that could also do our technical stuff. Some of the alarms, when they go off, are supposed to let Mike know remotely, and some of them are not working, so it needed a few other chips. And we needed somebody that could go in there and do the bulbs. This particular company, after Mike went out and talked to quite a few, they do quite a few sewer plants, and they'll give us the monthly, they'll give us the functional inspections 3 times a year. However, they'll also use that for emergency calls, so if he calls them, they'll make it one of the regular functional inspections, and we won't pay additional for them to come out. 24 hours, 7 days a week, phone support up to 10 hours a year, which is way more than we need. And they'll also take care of all the existing stuff that we have there. As it gets more technical at the sewer plant, it becomes more difficult, just like a new car, for somebody that doesn't really know how to do it.
How much are their bulbs?
Well, so that's kind of included. That's kind of included in
One of the
that.
services, the bulb changing and cleaning.
Yeah, so this is significantly cheaper, and it came highly recommended from Mike that does our sewer plant for many years now, so I would like a motion to approve the sewer contract.
I'll make the motion, we approve the contract with Engineered Solutions for the sewer plant.
Thank you, Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
And now, David, back to you. I also sent you an email today from our engineer for the Howell Cemetery. We're getting close, so they want us to start doing the contract, and
Yeah, we may also want to get together with the engineers, just because we're going to need, because that's part of, I assume it's not its own separate lot at the moment, we're gonna need some sort of legal description as to where the lot line change is going to happen.
okay.
And then once we have the description, we can work on the contracts and go from there. Typically, it's the seller's attorney that would do the contract, but I can initiate that on behalf of the town if that's easier for everybody.
Thank you. And then, Jason, if you just want to email him, maybe he could just email you over the
Yeah,
description.
absolutely.
I really wanted to close by the end of the year, so I'm hoping that we can still make that happen. Motion to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion, we pay our bills.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public participation. Come on, come on. Everybody's happy.
I just have one quick comment from the senior center. We have been, when we have cardboard boxes or the plastic coffee cans and things, putting them in the corner in the kitchen rather than throwing them in the garbage. And when we left the other day, we had quite a bit because we weren't going to be back for a while, so I wrote, please recycle on top. But when I was in there today for something, they're still there. Is there a system, like, I guess it's Corey at this point, but is there some place for him to take recycling, or are we just spinning our wheels by keeping it separate?
It goes in the dumpster.
It goes in a dumpster out back.
You had I'll tell you, it was my weekend, so you had Girl Scouts in there Friday night, and I'm trying to think if I saw it on Saturday. I know Corey was in there Saturday.
No, I mean, the stuff was there still today, I
Oh,
know
okay.
that, but that's what I mean. I don't wanna just be piling garbage in the corner if, nothing's gonna happen with it.
Diane, throw it out.
He just throws it in the dumpster, so, I mean,
Okay.
unless you have a recyclable place.
Okay. That's all.
I've only one question. Why is there a fuel, whatever words you used before, with cooperative extension?
The same question you asked me last
I know, I'm gonna ask it again and again.
year. It was an ongoing contract that they had with Cornell, and we just continued it.
Purpose
Purpose of, they're a large non-for-profit for the community, and when they originally built down there, it was owned by the town. Since then, the fuel agreement is just continued.
just because.
Yeah.
Dean, what do they spend a year? About,
We actually make money on it. It's not that
Yeah,
we're
the
not
town is
giving-
able
we're not
to
giving them
acquire the
free
fuel at a lower rate because it's a municipality.
Because they're not for profit, we're allowed to sell them fuel
Cornell
at
and
the
a
state
markup.
contract.
So in the end, Cornell's still paying less for the fuel, but the
Maybe
town's actually making money off of it,
$1,200.
so it's a revenue source.
Oh, but it's not a give you.
No, no,
No.
no.
Oh, no.
No, that's what I wanted to
No.
clarify, because I still didn't catch that the last time I asked the same bloody question last year. Okay?
So the
They're
answer,
paying for it.
Oh, they're paying for it.
8 to 1,200 a year about, and how much do we make a gallon
Regardless,
on
not
35
irregardless, but regardless.
So the village in that case.
Right.
Well, I
25
can
cents a gallon.
understand, no, you see, that's the thing, I can understand the village because of Mount Hope. Okay, it's all part of Mount Hope. Cooperative extension is something different, it's an entity unto itself, that it's a nonprofit, and that they're getting, believe me, it's cool, because they do good work. I understand that, but I didn't realize that they were paying it back.
Okay, yes.
We actually, we make 25 cents a gallon on the fuel.
I think they should give it to the village.
Mm-hmm.
Good, look at this thing.
Moving on.
What she said.
Minutes has expired.
Anybody else? Perfect. Board comments, what do you got, Matt?
No comments this evening.
Ryan?
I just have a question, which we didn't talk about, but did we hear anything about our grant for our concert series?
We have not, sir.
I will call because I realized the county just did all their grants, and so,
We did get a letter for Old School,
yep.
which I had gave to Kathleen, but no.
The county posted it online, but they haven't posted anything about other, I'll hopefully have some information for next week. It would be nice to go into 2019, so.
Don?
I would just like to thank all those people that are involved in the comprehensive plan update. They put a lot of work into it, they put a lot of time into it. It was a very interesting process. We all learned a lot, there was a lot of give and take, and for those people that donated their time to the community to make this process work, they donated 2 years of their time. And I'd just like to say thank you to all those on the committee.
Thanks, Don. Jim?
I have no comments today.
I got one comment. I spoke with Paul about it earlier today, but, so, long story short, real big, real small incident here on Thursday, which turned into chaos, lack of a better term. A few people, in my opinion, at the state level, could have done a much better job communicating. I've called the governor's office and expressed my concerns. However, on our end, hats off to the police department, especially Paul, that kept me in the loop the whole entire day, and then joined the manhunt at night. But excellent work, our whole entire PD, everything from the beginning to letting the businesses and the municipalities know, the prisons know, basically all of the things that should have been done, in my opinion, again, at the state level, because they're the ones that messed up. We picked the ball up and we kept rolling it, and great job all the way to the end. And just to reiterate, I mean, again, this is something else that we talked about today, is the communication end of it. I mean, just watching each thing come back through the 911 center, once everybody is on the same frequency and everything, it is going to be a lot safer. At one point, there were quite a few people involved in the pursuit that had no way of communicating. And thank God everything worked out awesome, but it's just one of those things that I would like to, I'm very proud of the way that it came out. So if it's a complaint, I'll be sure to tell people, and a compliment, I'd like to do the same. So please let everyone know that was working that day, Paul.
I will.
Excellent job.
How often did you update your Facebook page? Because I was getting calls from people in West Town saying, now that such and such has happened, Paul just posted that now they caught him.
Right,
That's like,
right. We
so
try to do
you're putting out minute to minute, up to date updates every 15, 20 minutes or something?
We were trying to, as
Yeah.
much as we could. I mean, obviously it's limited,
And I'm
because
going,
me
you're
doing
running
it,
around my house,
but-
how the hell you know this?
Yeah, I was doing it as quickly as I could.
I was surprised.
Yeah, because I know, because we were getting feedback that there was people concerned, so we were trying to do the best we could with it.
But you had people from all over the area watching.
Yeah.
On your Facebook
Right,
page.
well, that's good.
As a matter of fact, Dominic was in my office, I said, Don, you better go home, they're at your house right now.
Yeah, so it worked out well. Again, I think as you hit it, the nail on the head, it probably all could have been prevented if parole did what they were supposed to in the beginning, but, you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is, but, okay. Job
It
well done.
finally ended at the Girl Scout camp, is that where you caught it?
No, he was actually closer towards the back of the campground. The helicopter saw him with their heat sensor, and they directed 2 K-9 teams. A couple things worked to our advantage. There was K-9 training that night, so I think we had the 6 dogs that were training, and Goshen just drove up, so we had, you know, that advantage.
A pack of dogs.
We had a pack of dogs. He was bitten when he was arrested, but the state police took care of that. He got medical attention, and then he was turned over to parole.
And just to not downplay anything else, but just the one transmission call, when you first called for help, what was the closest car that could get to you?
Monroe. Right. So
I
we asked.
heard it and I'm like, Monroe?
Yeah, so there was nobody else that could come that was closer, so actually, it was, you know, a little bit of a wait. So when people talk about the backup you have, I mean, depending on the time of the day, the circumstances, but yeah, the closest car was coming, there was a state police unit coming from Ulster County, and there was a trooper coming from Monroe. So that was the backup. But in the meantime, a Middletown car was sent from Middletown, not Middletown State Police car, City of Middletown car. So yeah.
There was quite a few officers involved, there was a lot
Yeah.
of cars.
Yeah, once we got through that first 45 minutes, we had sufficient. There was also a team of parole officers coming from Albany that arrived probably 20 minutes into it. So we had, I think, about 10 to 15 docs people that showed up.
Both pizza businesses made out like crazy, they were packed with police cars.
Send it from Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's my only comment.
Special
Hey, man, listen to some of them.
Please remember to come to the tree lighting. Hopefully it'll be a good night, and I would like a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
He's getting a little stir crazy.
Sure.
That's fine.